My name is Campbell, and I guess I've always really loved history. And I originally heard about the program through my 9th grade history teacher, but now I'm a junior, and so she sent me an email about 2 years later. And so then I applied to the program. And I was just interested in the program because I felt like I really got to use the skills that I have learned in high school that I feel like I don't really get to use outside of, high school. And so I got to use the skills of research and my writing skills in order to create this exhibit.
Well, my name is Zoe Bateman, and a fun fact about me is I'm a CUNA varsity cheerleader. And what interested me in the gym program was I like history, and it seems like a fun way to get to know people and being involved in something. And I love being involved in anything that interests me. And like I said before, I'm interested in history.
My name's Addie, and one thing that really interested me was how much I love history and getting a new opportunity to try something different outside of a school setting and somewhere where I can be with other people who have similar interests.
I feel like one thing that was really interesting this year was the topic of the environment. As I've grown older, I've grown to love the outdoors more and participate in activities like backpacking and kayaking, biking, just especially in Idaho we have such diverse between seasons, and so there's a lot of variety of activities to participate in.
Okay, so I'm Lizzie, and I really love nature. And what interested me in the GEM program was my love of history and learning about it.
So I've been interested in history for a really long time, for almost all my life. And I did National History Day for 5 years at this point. And so when my librarian, who was my NHD advisor, showed me the GEM panel, I'm like, that sounds fun. And then I applied, and the interview questions were interesting. And I got in, and it was fun to have other history nerds and not just be sitting all by myself researching, and have other people to do it with me.
I go by Sarah Grace. Some interests of mine are I really enjoy performing, I love to sing, I love to write, and I really enjoy telling stories. And when I'm older, something that I'm hoping to do is become a forensic anthropologist.
Initially, the environment's obviously a very broad topic, so I feel like narrowing down, at the beginning, it seemed like a large task to have to narrow down from the environment to create specific panels.
So now I know a little bit more about how to create an exhibit and a little bit more about how a museum works, because beforehand I would walk in and you could see all the artifacts and you can see all the writing, but there was nothing really about how that all fits together. Obviously, I knew someone wrote that at some point, but I didn't know what that entailed completely.
Some of the challenges were definitely getting things done by the deadline. I've always struggled with deadlines, so it's hard either way.
Writing what we wanted to say, because we had a lot of ideas in our head. It was just putting them down on paper was a little bit of a struggle.
It's a lot more work than you think because shorter words is harder. It's easier to go longer. So I guess just shortening a lot because there's so much information out there, and trying to cut down what we had was really hard.
Photos were hard because it was hard looking for photos that followed copyright laws and getting them approved. But some of the successes were definitely being able to work in partners and having somebody there to check something rather than just being like, does this work? Does it not? Is it okay? So that was a big benefit.
Through this exhibit, I learned how to use Chicago formatting, which was a completely new thing to me because I had always used MLA format. So by using Chicago formatting, I'm able to know more about how to cite sources in a museum. I'm also better versed in the rules for finding and formatting photos. Beforehand, I was using photos that I found off the internet for class projects, and I didn't know about copyright rules.
The photos were really fun to find, and they were really fun to create and then put into the exhibit. So that would be, I think, our biggest success.
I hope to share my appreciation for the environment with others.
We all interact with the environment, and that's something that's it has to be intertwined with everyone's lives. But I also think that something that we add into the exhibit is the sense of urgency that the environment's not necessarily in like a stable condition, and I think we did a good job intertwining that into our exhibit this year.
I think this exhibit is important for the community to see because they can really see like how Idaho's history has created either an impact in a positive or negative way. And I feel like our exhibit does it's really balanced. It's not too negative and it's not too positive. Just so people keep in mind that as Idahoans, we have hurt our environment, but we've also really benefited our environment. And just keeping that in mind going in the future is really good to remember.
I think this is an important exhibit just because it's something that sometimes lacks attention, but it needs to be brought up, especially as the world continues to grow and develop.
With Jen, we did a lot of collaborating with like professionals, like design teams and archivists, which was a really cool part of it.
I also think that in the future, I know that I want my job to have something to do with this. So I am going to assume that I'm going to be working with exhibits and artifacts in the future.
I've gained better collaboration skills working with my group, and I've also gained new research skills because I've had to look up different kinds of photos and documents.
Yeah. I really upped my research game. I had to get outside information for my resources and talk to like other parts of the museum and other parts of the historical society. And then I learned how to be concise in my work and how to deliver as much information as possible in as minimum word count, which was very difficult.
How to condense things and condense and analyze to find the most important information, but still keep it interesting to make people want to look at it. And then I also learned how to make an exhibit.
I think it'll definitely help a lot at college, especially collaborating with the group. Like in making this exhibit, it was all collaborative. It's been on every panel. And the research, I think, is a big part of it because having to take information and then narrow it down and write a portion on it, that I'll use that in college and career beyond.
Teens would be more interested in hearing personal stories instead of a lot of generalization. Hearing like those personal stories that would hit them close to home and how they were affected might make them want to might make them more interested because that's more of a story instead of history.
Continuing teen outreach programs because that's the next generation of people. So those are the people that need to see what's happening in the past and what could happen in the future and keep learning from that.